Irina. She's one of my medical intuitive graduates, but she's been an incredible healer for a long time. She works with EFT and a VIHRIOM modality as well that was created in her country of origin. And she has a program called Build Yourself Back Up, where she helps young women and children and people who are struggling through its large emotional turmoil to find their own strength. So I'm really, really blessed to have been working with her over the last 6 months, and I can't wait to see what she's got in store for us today. Welcome, Irina. Do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hi, Sky. It's really nice to see you today here. What to tell about myself? I would like to begin with just the idea that I've always wanted to help people, and I've always wanted to help young children, young people, like in the periods that when I was young, younger. And it's always been a calling of mine to be around people who are really trying to find their way, but somehow they're lost in their ways of being in the world due to some hardship or some other things that they had to cope with or struggle. And I always felt it like psychically very deep within myself that something was going on with them.
Yeah.
And that I was put in certain situations because I needed to help those people.
Well, I find it like it touches my heart because I remember being a little kid and knowing that I was here for a greater purpose. And it always was verbalized. People would say, "What do you want to do?" And I'd say, "I want to help people." So it's exactly your words. I didn't know how. I didn't even have the picture, but that desire is so deep, isn't it?
Yes, and I also struggled of finding my calling for so many years, because even I remember when I was a teenage girl, people would come and just ask me, well, tell me, what do you want to become? And I'll just start wondering and have this anxiety in my stomach, because I would just think, oh my gosh, there's so many options, but I don't know what I want to become. Maybe people know because they were told a story from their parents or something. And I was trying to find my calling for years before actually finding my healing abilities, and that I was put here for a specific reason on this planet. And actually it was a huge struggle, because all this time I would feel so alone, and I would feel like I was just not oriented, and I didn't know how to find my calling in life. And that was actually for many years where I would try different things, but I would not fit in according to the let's say what's considered a specific profession, or like what you specialize in your professional life. Until a moment actually when I asked my mom, I asked her, what did I wanted to become when I was a little girl? And I remember her saying, well, you always wanted to be a doctor. And that felt so close to my heart, because actually I knew that I could be a doctor, but actually had no qualifications in terms of becoming a nurse or a doctor in the real world. Yeah. So I found myself being 35 and thinking to myself, well, isn't it a bit late to go another 10 years of study for becoming a doctor?
Yeah.
And I just, to tell you the truth, I signed up for the Medical Intuitive course the last 3 hours, because my intuition actually, I don't know, it screamed. It literally screamed when I saw the post, and it was like, nope, you have to go on here. I was like, no, that's not for me. Like the days before, but the last literally 2-3 hours, something within me urged me to get here and sign up. And I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever done in my life.
It's like literally from the bottom of my heart. I say to you guys, I spoke to you guys before I did this, because it was such a big, I'm not gonna lie, it was such a big and vulnerable commitment for me. And I remember saying on an energetic level, I'm going to take time to make this, but it's not it's not just my divine timing. And I remember really saying I remember having you all standing in front of me in a meditation and saying to your angels, like, if you're supposed to be here, right? I genuinely said, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to run this again, right? I don't know what's going to happen with, COVID and the politics. I don't know what's going to happen with, so if you need to be here, please be here. No, it's funny that you were like, but I was really like, I don't know what's going to happen in the world.
Oh my God.
So you felt me, but genuinely, I was like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm doing this because Creator's telling me. But Jesus, I was like, I don't know if we're, and people would say to me, can I book on for the next round of Medical Intuitive? And I'd be like, I don't know if there's going to be a next round. I'd be like, I'm teaching it. But back then, I really didn't know. I was like, what if, the systems aren't working? What if we're in a completely different
Oh my God.
world?
You're so strong.
So
in sending this message, even. I mean, that's a really strong message.
it was quite like because when you know this because you're so spiritual and so intuitive, but when you're doing future readings or looking at the future, you just don't know, and you can see the probability of what's going to manifest.
Yes.
And you put all of your strength and all of your prayers into creating the strongest, best future for the whole of humanity.
Yes.
But you have to look at everything, right, that's available. And I could 100%, I don't know why it's coming out with you, but I could 100% see the war coming. And I could 100% see the economic wave coming. And I remember asking Creator, going, how long do we have? How long do we have before all the inflation goes up, or before there's a big division between the upper and lower classes again? I remember getting maybe to the end of this year, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there going, that's not enough time. Like, how do I get this, I thought it would take like a year to 2 years to train medical intuitives. And Creator was like, 6 months, and you do it now. And I was like, breasts dripping and stuff. And I was like, now.
I know the feeling. Now? When you don't even expect to, you're not even prepared to do that.
I'm like, what? When if you've listened to some of the other interviews, I was talking to my camera guy, and I honestly thought this course was going to be a weekend course. Yeah. I didn't, but when you start channeling and you get in the energy, things just happen, so it makes a big, like, hearing you say that you were like, you felt that pull. I was like, I felt the same thing. And not just like you felt it to come as a student, but I felt it to come and teach. I was like, I really got a strong, this has to be, now. So I feel you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a strong calling. I'm telling you, the last 3 hours, I was thinking to myself, I must have gone nuts.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, because that's actually the last question I normally ask. But you're a mom. You already were a powerful healer in your own right. You already had your own program. And I know that whenever I'm about to do something, a new program, I'm always thinking, how much of this is, my heart wanting to expand, and how much of this is me not feeling secure enough or good enough, the way I really am. And that question always goes on in my heart, because our time is away from our kids, away from our husband, away from the clients we already have.
Yes.
And we get so little time for ourselves anyway. So what went on in your heart that you were like, this is mine? Because you thought you were a little bit crazy. And how did you balance it? If I think work-life balance is a myth, just so you know. I think we just do the best we can. But how was it for you?
Well, for me, it was actually really not expected. And I was thinking to myself, did I really just sign up last night? And did I sign up to something that's going to be 6 months of my time while being a mom? And my kid at that was nearly 20 months. And that's the period where we have the terrible twos. And that's the moment where you just have to be focused on like everything that's going on with your kid and your house, and being a housewife and just being a mom and be present. And I actually would say that for me, this was the best decision that I could have ever done in my entire life, just because I'm just getting emotional because it's so much. It's like the first 3 weeks that I went on the course, just by doing the modalities and just going through all the sections, I started seeing the first 3 weeks changes within me, and I wanted to do so much, but I had so little time, and I had to really allocate my time in terms of when, how, what I do, and cover my homeworks and be involved with the group and support with other people, do my swaps with different people on the course. And this was honestly, Sky, the most amazing thing I could have ever done, just because it made me more aware of the things that I needed to work on myself as a healer, but also it made me aware that actually, yes, people do need that kind of support, because us getting it and you delivering that amazing cutting edge modality, that's the best healing modality. Like, I have no words how to explain it, because it comes from the heart. And for me, if it doesn't feel right in the heart, it's not working. And when we have something that feels so right in the heart, and it actually works on not just energetic level, but in your life, and you see the changes in front of your eyes, and you see the changes with your with your people, with your kid, with the people that you're communicating, and probably you start seeing them within yourself, because people say that I shine.
That's one of the things that I find. Okay, so vulnerability time,
Yes.
is that one of the things that I found is like that shift, because whenever you're about to teach something you've never taught before, it was not just the first time for you guys, it was the first time for me, right?
Yeah.
And you just don't know. It's always a huge vibrational roller coaster, because as you guys are shifting, the whole group energy shifts, and when you're holding that energy, all of your energy shifts. And when you've done it a few times before, like when you've taught theta a few times, or manifest, you're used to the kind of shifts. You're like, oh, they're going here next. So with this, I was like, oh my God, we're going here. Like, we're really going here.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff I was ready for, and some stuff that I wasn't. But exactly like what you said, the shifts that I could see in myself and in my life, and the love that you guys had for each other.
Yeah.
But the things I expected, and because we had such a diversity as well, we had people who were at the beginning of their spiritual journey, and people who were very advanced spiritual teachers. And there was this incredible bridge, because what the teachers needed to become the greatest version of themselves was to learn how to take beginners and help them flourish. And what the beginners needed was to be able to see that they were as powerful as the light they were projecting onto these teachers. So Creator created this incredible rolling duality thing going on. And I was like, all right, I wasn't expecting that. And things I was expecting to come at the end of the course, you guys were like in there. Like in the first month, it was like, I want to deal with sick children. I want to deal with like death doors. I want to deal with this. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay. I was like, how do I do this without triggering everyone at the same time?
Yes, it was huge.
And kind of set up, but it's exactly what you said. Like, not only do you glow, but I honestly believe this, and that's why it was 6 months and not 6 days or 9 days. I think that your confidence to get results for your clients and your loved ones is directly related to your ability to manifest, because women in particular have such a high level of integrity that if you don't think you can take care of those people, you're not going to call them in.
Definitely.
So when that space came, I was like, it has to be at least, in my mind, I was going to make it a year, or I was going to make it, because like I said, a doctor would take 7 years to train. Yes. A psychologist, when I did my counseling and psychotherapy, was 4 years. So the reason I put it, like I said, in that container was to hold that, not just to hold that space, but because so many of you had done healing for a long time already, Definitely. But 100% what you're saying is like, when you start swapping with each other, and when you start seeing the shifts in your family and your group, especially because not just the heart, but what I find is so many modalities either only focus on the emotions or bypass them entirely.
Yes.
And that link between mind, heart, and soul becomes so distorted, because it's not one. It's like the Holy Trinity. It's all three.
Yes, exactly.
Divine heart, divine thought, divine soul. But you guys, like, literally, you guys took it to a level I could never have imagined, and I'm so grateful you came.
No, we are grateful to you. We're so grateful, because if it was not for that modality, probably all these 66 women on the course would have just be, doing their own thing and just trying to find their own way. Thinking that it could be nice if we had something that's global and it's really growing at the speed of light, and it's really confirming, and it's actually making you live the life that you were here to create.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be quite difficult to become what you were supposed to become if you didn't know how to get there.
So we've got two questions coming up now. The first one is, what was the biggest transformation you saw in your life?
Oh. Can it be more than one?
Of course.
Yes. Well, the first thing that I saw within myself, I would put it that way, was my not mentality, but like my mindset. My mindset shifted because I would have had for a long time hardships and troubles with certain things within myself. And I found it very, very difficult to get away from negative feelings, which sometimes would just wind up in my head, and it would be days and I would say weeks where you just try to work on just one emotion, where with the miracles over medicine technique, you just do all that in 1 hour.
Yeah.
And I have no words even how to explain it. That was the first change, but this was massive in my mindset. And the second change, which I saw, and I'm so grateful for, is I saw change in my son, which was my main thing. I've been really putting a lot of effort into his let's say well-being, because actually the health is the most important. But actually I found out that he's been my savior, and I just owe him back to be the best one that I can be. That was the biggest change, one of the biggest changes. Oops. And one more thing. I did
all emotional now.
yes, I did understood my self-worth at such a deep level, Sky, that I just want to recommend this course to all the people. I'm actually becoming also emotional. I want to recommend this course to all people, because you just don't know what you're able to do, and you shouldn't limit yourself to just your thoughts or things that you think that are not possible ever, just because you went through something. We know that when you go through life, sometimes it affects you to a deep level, but there is a way to come on top, even when you were the most when you were the most, let's say, person that was rejected, or was never understood, or was always put down. There is always a way up. There is always a way up. And this is why I created the program Build Yourself Back Up, because I want to support not just women or men. This was my mission for the last 10 years, actually, to support people not to live in darkness, but to awaken to their divine intelligence within. And this is what you teach.
The self-worth thing is so huge. And it's so funny because with these interviews, I've had 2 or 3 people even send me private messages going, you see the light, and you really hold you see your clients in such a lovely way, or your students in such a lovely way. And for me, it's not a lovely way. It's who you really are, And I think we have that such low belief that our gifts are important because they've been gaslit about them our whole life.
Yes.
And then, like you said, we have I think it's almost 50% of the new businesses being started are by women, but we by far have the lowest earning. And it's because, like I said, that deep bypassing of our worth. So I'm so deeply grateful. So deeply grateful that you allowed yourself to receive that one, because it is everything, because we're in charge of the children and the future generations. And
exactly,
this
is very deep, Sky. This is very deep.
It is. And it's exactly what we said. Our life mission is exactly the same, because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that my mission here is to awaken the divine light and activate the power in every woman here. Because, oh my God, the children are suffering. What is going on in the world with the wars and the diseases and the drama? that takes us away from our divinity, you know?
Yes,
So I hear
especially
you.
if you've been to those let's say units where there is wars, or into hospitals or places where really people are fighting for their not just life but for having what we call the good life, or having a life at all. It's just those places make you think
Yeah.
about the power of real life and what um, living force means in every, not just human, in every living being.
Yeah.
It just teaches you to respect life. It teaches you to be really, really grateful and also very careful when you choose your thoughts, because your thoughts create your feelings, and it's very, very important what we think.
It's so important, and it's so much of it is unconscious. You know,
Yes,
people think a thought is just like a sentence, but a thought is an image. You know, a
yes,
thought is a memory. And whenever it's so interesting, isn't it? Because when even I really do love so many different spiritual teachers, but we simplify it down. We're like, oh, a thought is a belief, and the belief is a sentence. And I'm like, no, the thought is an image. You know, and very often the thought is a video. It's like
yes.
a full blown, you know, whole thing. It's not just a sentence. And I think that's where the medical intuitive technique was so unique, because we were working directly on the beliefs that came from the images instead of the other way around, like trying to switch the belief without really seeing the full extent, you know, of how it was
Actually,
created.
Sky, what's really interesting is that I noticed the last couple of weeks, I am experiencing this on some level. I don't know what is going on, if it's a leveling up or change of consciousness. You know, but I just experienced like that what you just described, that the thoughts are coming as an image, and I feel myself. I actually what I'm thinking, and then I can feel it on a different level, like I am creating it. And I mean, I just want to recommend that course to anybody who would like really to change his life, who would like to have a different perspective on everything that he has ever thought about himself, about about everything, about the world, about how you feel about your surroundings, about even your, like, it will change massively your, not just your thinking, like yourself.
There's something, how do I put this? There's something profound in you deciding that something is not just about you. So ever since I started, like with you, I've been healing, but using different modalities since I was 17 years old, right? And in every single one, people would say to me, you're an exceptional therapist, you're an amazing healer. And people would just say it's a gift you're born with, right? They would assume it's something you can do. And part of this course was being like, F that, anyone can do this
Yes.
if they just apply the same principles and the same techniques. And I think that this idea of like born with it is a brilliant idea, but also a kind of a toxic idea. Because I think medical intuition belongs to the whole of humanity. No, not just to the psychics or the spiritual people. It's our divine intelligence. It's our birthright.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You
But
know?
we, somewhere on the way, I think we just didn't realize that we have it, or we were never taught by, um, by parents or by teachers or like anybody else, that we have access to it.
I think it's a very new idea, even in the conscious. Like I said, that up leveling that you described, I think 120%, to the extent that even last week I was changing how I do everything. Because
Really?
when you're in that energy and it's like you're in the cocoon, you're in that chrysalis of transformation.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you come out of the cocoon, you really have to reassess everything, because you're not who you were before.
No, no.
Right? And the decisions you made before just don't work for who you are now.
Yes.
And I was sitting there going, oh my God, I didn't really expect it to, like I said, to be that big or to be that much of a shift. And especially because you guys will have felt me, you know, creating the Medical Intuitive Association in the background, so I can continue supporting you guys and how we're going to do it and where it's going to be and how we're going to grow it and how we're going to, you know, all of that stuff. And it's exactly what you said in the, it's a global thing. But the weakness I've found, no matter what modality I've been in, is that there is no support after you're finished. And that is the beginning of the journey, not the end.
Actually, Sky, you're so right, because all the modalities that I've finished, that was the one thing all of those amazing people were missing, the support after. And actually, you need that support because you are a living being and you're having a living situations, whether dealing with patients in hospitals or whether dealing with really severe cases.
Yep.
Sometimes you need that support so much, just because you need that, not just a bubble, but that thing where it will guide you to the point where you would really be able to be of service and help.
I honestly think that, like I said, we're strong. Like, we don't have to prove that we're strong. We're ridiculously strong.
Oh, yes.
But it's like particularly working with sick and vulnerable people, dealing not just with their traumas, but with loss, with grief, with them potentially being mistreated.
Yes.
You know, the supporting, like you don't support a sick child or a sick person without supporting their entire family.
Exactly.
You know, and then coming home to your own home with no one that understands, no one that gets it, no one that holds space for you.
Yes.
It does. I think that's genuinely why we're even blocking bringing in more people for ourselves with clients. It's just that we feel overwhelmed.
Yes. The feelings can be quite overwhelming, and that support we get and we provide to each other is so crucial, because it actually makes the person feel that he's not alone.
I'm seen. I mean, you can't, if there's not everyone, like genuinely, I remember one time, right? When I'm just going to roll with it. I remember one time I came home and I'd been doing sessions because I had my office in London, and I'd had one of those instant miracle healings where I had a client come in with glasses and leave not needing them anymore.
Yay.
And I remember running into my kitchen to my husband and going like, this happened. And it was anything bad, but he just wasn't excited. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, he didn't get it. He didn't see it.
Yeah, because he didn't experience it, obviously.
And it's it's what we do is extraordinary.
Yeah.
You need a place where you can, like I said, come in and be overwhelmed because that was really hard. I need to come in and have a place where when you say that person's eyesight came back, that person's hormones are normal, that person's having a baby.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That other people get it. And it's not about anything other than, like you said, the being seen. Like, I see you, I get you, I love you.
Yes. Yes. You know? And actually, another thing, this course helps so much about the healers, us being able to see us, to see who we are, to get out there and show to the world who we really are.
Yeah.
And there is nothing scary into that. It's amazing. I love being here. I love this opportunity to be able to be in front of so many people and show them that they can really have the same effect of just being themselves, being who they really are. And there is nothing wrong into that. It's so beautiful and it's amazing. It's amazing. I just want to urge all people to be themselves and come on the course if they have any issues with that.
My love, listen, this is the thing, like the reason I put so much into making us feel safe being who we are is that the witch burnings and the genocide of Native Americans has been a Holocaust for medical intuitives. You know, they have been proactively wiped out on the planet so that there could be control of a different kind of medicine. You know, and when we're stepping out, this is a very Jesus thing, right? So guys, I'm about to get Jesus-y on you. But I study, because when I was little, I had this really strong connection with Jesus. And when I was studying his story, and it's funny, oh my God, we're at Easter. This is like the Easter story. Here's like the bing bong moments.
I'm so happy you brought Jesus, because that's what I really I really work so well with everything you've said on the course. And I believe that the higher power talking to Jesus is actually the most, spiritual thing that anybody can do.
Yeah. I think everybody has their own way,
Yeah.
but I think that was my way. And I used to be like, when because of like trauma, I used to be embarrassed about that. I'm not anymore. I think everybody has their own way, but you know what your way is, you know who your person is, right? And Jesus is my person. So I was like with you, I was meditating on this, and I was really shown, this energy of having to put skin in the game and being prepared for persecution before it even happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, I felt like, I remember saying to God, I feel like as I step into my powers of medical intuitive, I feel like I'm stepping into a trap.
Yes.
I feel like I'm going to get persecuted again. I feel like the more visible I become, the more I'm putting myself at risk, but my family, my children, my husband, and I'm scared. I feel like I'm walking into a trap. Yeah. And I remember the images flooding into my head of Jesus sitting there being told that he was walking consciously into a trap. Right? He knew before he was stuck on that cross what was going to happen next. And I was like, how is this relevant? And he was like, because I'm going to guide you through this. And because you know it's coming, and you are literally, he like showed me like, I got goosebumps. He's like, you're putting skin in the game, right? He said, you're risking everything to shift this consciousness. And he was like, you're not, it's like, when you reach a certain level of consciousness, I'm not going to take you anywhere that you don't know where you're going.
Okay.
And I'll be walking into that trap with you. The same way I walked into that trap when Eve walked into it, and he was really showing me, he's like, Eve fell into the trap. Jesus walked in, and I walked in. He's like, I'm not going to let you go anywhere that I'm not walking in with you. But this vibration of us as women and as miracle healers being trapped and being persecuted by the very people that we were here to serve.
I get it so quickly and so fast.
And I was like, what am I doing? And he was like, you were breaking a generational curse. He's like, you were stamping on the head of something that has stalked women for centuries. And you know the danger you're taking, but you're doing it together, and it's not finished. It's just beginning. And he was like, you feel like you're walking into a trap because you are. And I was like, and he was like, but skin in the game. He was like, Jesus didn't want to be hurt, but he would never have been resurrected if he wasn't hurt.
Yes. Yes.
And they were like, you think that you just want to evolve humanity, but we want to bring something in humanity, which is, like I said, that divine medicine back to life, because it's been killed through holocausts and traumas and PTSD. And we want to resurrect that back from the dead.
Oh.
Right? And that takes us all having skin in the game. So like I said, when you're coming out and you're going, I have a kid, I have a husband, I have all this stuff, and I know how dangerous this is.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, I know you do.
Well, that's the thing, because people say to me, like, exactly like we said, like, how do you get around it? I'm like, you don't get around it. You have to go through it. And until you recognize the courage it takes for us to go, we're doing this anyway, because it's the right thing. It's the true thing. It's destroying the lies.
Yes, you have to be strong enough and courageous enough to just stay there and pick up your ground and say the truth, what needs to be said, what needs to be shown even.
Yeah. And that's what I got, like in Course in Miracles, it says the moment that the darkness comes, the Holy Spirit answers. Yes. And that's why Creator was like, it has to be now, because they're telling the whole of humanity that they have no control over their health, that they are supposed to be sick, that they are completely dependent on forces outside of themselves.
Oh my gosh, right? I have such goosebumps here. That's so true. That's so true. Oh my gosh.
So I was like, right now, and he was like, yeah, because the moment the darkness comes is the moment the light switches on, and there are so many people praying for health right now. There are so many people who need that right now. And that's where, it was kind of like, I'm not waiting. And it's exactly what it's like. My brain, especially with my mummy brain and the mummy guilt, went straight into my son, I'm going to miss some really important, the heartbreak was big. But at the same time, it's like we said, what do we want for their future? You know, it's exactly like that. Like, what do you want? Where do you want them? What world do you want them growing up in?
Well, definitely not a dark one, but more light. Definitely.
But without us saying, like I said, without us finding the strength to go, this stops here.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's what we are finding as women as we become more, not just financially empowered, but spiritually empowered. We're finding, like you said, that strength to go, this stops here. This darkness ends with me.
Yes, Guy, this darkness also ends with me, because I know what it is when the darkness comes, and when you don't have the tools and the techniques or the ways even how to fight it back. And if you're somebody who is unexperienced and doesn't know what to do, it could be quite tough.
Oh, not quite
And
tough. It is not just tough. I would go as far as to say without the help of God, I'd go as far as to say it's impossible.
yes, yes,
Because like I said, you're dealing with financial pain, you're dealing with emotional pain very often, especially like I said, whether even if it's just health like childbirth, you're dealing with physical pain and recovery.
yes, yes.
Right. And then you're dealing with the pain of the collective consciousness, unless you have a very strong anchoring.
Yes.
Right. And that divine, the winds are blowing, the storm, and there's like no roots, you know, you're just like carried away by the flood. So it's not, it's like that, it's not like the darkness, and this is like, of course, it's not messing around.
Yes, yes.
You
No
know,
messing around, definitely.
not messing around. And there's a point where we have to, and that my core, I suppose, belief that kept sabotaging everything was, I'm not strong enough for this.
Oh, tell me about it.
As
Until
like
you realize how strong you really are, right?
but not like I realized how strong God really is.
Yes.
And I realized that if I didn't find the strength, then I would have to put that on my son, but also all the children of the world.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
realized how sick this story is, that the children are going to save us. I was like, no, we're the grown-ups, right? We're
Yes.
the grown-ups. We're in charge.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true about that.
So if we keep saying we're not strong enough, we can't do this, then they get an even bigger mess than we inherited, because just like light is cumulative, so is
Yes.
darkness.
Yes.
And unless you heal it from generation to generation, it gets bigger.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
You're like, but that's where I like literally when I speak to you, that's what I feel, is that there's a deep calling to stop these generational curses and darkness, and a deep calling to step into our power and go, it stops here. You know, the pain stops here, the debt ends here, the war ends here. You know, not in my family. Not, and I think if we can, like, this is the vision, like, so for medical intuitives, is that if we can just have one woman in every country who's willing to hold down her part of the world in peace and in love and in who's made that promise to God,
Yes. Yes.
right, then that will change everything.
That connection. Yes. Yes. If just everybody would orient his soul and everything that we do towards him, and have that support, and actually live in the divine virtues and the divine light, everything becomes possible. And suddenly you see that darkness grow not growing, but like actually decreasing, and that light increasing, even in your everyday lives, in your everyday situations, in even in your health. I mean, we begin with us, but we spread that to the people and to the areas and to the environment that we are finding ourselves in.
Oh, this has been a deep conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Sky. It actually has been, and I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart about that, because actually that's been my even biggest blessing, that I stopped the generational trauma and the curses with me, and
You
having
really
and
did.
being here with you and on this course was my greatest not just pleasure, but greatest thing to have been going through, and my greatest blessing.
I am ridiculously grateful that you came with us for the journey, how much work and how much effort you put in, to taking care of the community and to becoming a really powerful medical intuitive. And I'm so happy to see how we evolve moving forward.
Yes.
Guys, if you feel guided or connected to working with Irina, particularly around your kids, because she's so confident and happy in that area, and it's hard to find a therapist that loves working with kids, just so you know, right? Just look inside the comments. We've put her website link below, her program link below. But it's my absolute pleasure to have done this interview with you today. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Sky. It was an amazing honor. Thank you. Thank you.